Here is the logo of Gospel Outbound. We are a U.S. nonprofit located in Millville, New Jersey, and we are also a Ugandan-approved nonprofit located in Kampala, Uganda. Our slogan is Connecting to Serve. We seek to connect those with compassion to empower the poor, both spiritually and economically. Gospel Outbound started in 1997, supporting evangelistic and compassion work in the U.S., Guatemala, India, and Myanmar, formerly Burma. In 2006, God directed us to shift our focus to East Africa. This is indicated by the square on the map of the continent of Africa there. We are currently focused in the countries of South Sudan and Uganda. You will see Kampala, the capital, noted with the star, which is our African headquarters location. Our work is focused on three great needs: missions training and sending, economic empowerment, and orphan care. Need number one is missions training and sending. Why is this so important? Here is a map of the continent of Africa that will help you understand. The box we added again notes our work area. This map reveals the progress of Christianity on the continent. The yellow area, primarily in the south, represents those countries that are mostly Christian, while the green areas in the north are those that are predominantly Muslim countries. The red area in the middle is where the two religions meet and is designated as the area of religious conflict. We know from God's Word that we are in a spiritual struggle for the souls of men, and God has commissioned us to take Christ's love to North Africa and beyond. But because of these spiritual conflicts, it also manifests in the physical as well. For example, today, there are radical Muslim atrocities occurring in northern Nigeria, Kenya, and Somalia along this line. And in South Sudan, there is regular conflict on the northern border. And in the last 20 years, over 2 million people have died in these conflicts. We believe that Christ is the answer. God has told us to make disciples of all nations, and this requires sending missionaries to share and to teach. This is what we want to see. We are imparting vision and structures to see many African missionaries sent into the harvest fields of North Africa and beyond. We believe that mobilizing the indigenous church there is one of the big moves God is doing to finish the Great Commission in these last days. Operation World, the renowned missions manual, says of the Ugandan church, "Mission potential is enormous, but this potential is still largely untapped due to lack of awareness and structures. Gospel Outbound with their partners are taking advantage of this enormous potential." You see, there is a great need and opportunity for missions training and sending, but how are we imparting this vision and raising up a missions force? We are doing this with Christian and missions training in 4 venues, recognizing and sending missionaries, and these missionaries then plant churches in the least reached areas, moving progressively northward. Our 4 training venues are 3 weekly radio call-in shows per month. Here's a picture of our African director, Emmy Lacour, doing one of our radio shows. Many northern Ugandans have radios in their cell phones and are able to tune in to these successful programs. We also hold 2-day missions conferences. Here is Emmy again, teaching with a translator at one of our 2015 conferences in northern Uganda. We hold 3-week portable Bible trainings. Here is a group who graduated in northern Uganda in 2015 as well. From these conferences and 3-week trainings, we recruit missionaries and train them in one of our 1-year missionary training schools. This is a picture of one of those schools in South Sudan. During and after training, we send our missionaries to unreached areas, again moving progressively northward. Here is one of our missionaries sharing in a remote village. Here are 2 more of our missionaries sharing with the family in another remote area. Here are two more of our missionaries. Nehemiah on the left is one of our Uganda regional directors sitting on the motorcycle we provided for him to oversee and reach out to his region. On the right is Aldo, another regional director, holding one of the bicycles we have provided most of our missionaries. As our missionaries evangelize in these newly reached areas, they are planting churches. Here is the meeting of a new church in Uganda under a mango grove where the LRA rebels used to slaughter people. Here is the church building they constructed not long after starting, and some of their new believers receiving Bibles in their language. Here is another new Gospel Outbound church meeting under a tree that soon after received donated land to build their church building. And here is another Gospel Outbound church building constructed in late 2015. The second great need in which Gospel Outbound works is to help the very poor through economic empowerment. Why is this so important? Most Africans are subsistence farmers making less than $1 per day. Can you imagine? They lack basic necessities including nutrition, medical care, education, and business financing. To help remedy this, we provide economic empowerment through job training and business financing. We adhere to the old adage, give a man a fish and feed him for a day. Teach him to fish and he feeds himself every day. In the area of job training, most recently we have been training widows and poor women in the field of tailoring. Here is a picture of a 6-month class in Uganda in 2015. Here's another tailoring class we held in South Sudan. Along with the job training, we provide business financing to help these women start their own businesses because business capital is almost impossible to come by when you're making only $1 or $2 per day. Here's a picture of Ruth, who lost her husband to illness and was left with 2 small children with no funds. They were destitute, but through training and several $50 loans, she was able to buy 3 bicycle taxis. Pictured are 2 of her taxi drivers. Ruth also started a wedding decorating business and is now successfully paying her bills, purchased a small home, and is contributing faithfully to her church. Here's a picture of Betty, who after several $150 loans was able to start 2 small hair salons and is now a successful businesswoman herself, paying back her loan and supporting her church. And pictured here is a trash truck from a business owned by our country director and some of the board members. We are working diligently to develop self-sustaining models in order to further continue the ministry as the Apostle Paul did when he made tents to support his ministry. The third great need is orphan care. Why is that? Almost 1 in 10 Ugandan children are orphans due to lack of basic medical care and subsequent high adult mortality. How are we helping with these orphans? Fortunately, in the Ugandan society, orphans are typically cared for by the extended families. Unfortunately, most of these orphans do not go to school because their caregivers can barely support their own children's school fees. This is where Gospel Outbound steps in and helps with these critical school expenses. We believe education is a great investment for helping these children and their families extricate themselves from the severe poverty going forward. Here are many orphans from just one village, with most of these unable to attend school for lack of funding. Here is a picture of Godfrey with his grandmother. Godfrey's parents were killed by the rebels when he was very young. Now Godfrey, an intelligent boy, is attending school because of the help of Gospel Outbound. God has blessed Gospel Outbound with many accomplishments in 2015. We have had 2 two-day conferences, 10 3-week portable Bible trainings, 13 missionary training schools, 6 radio talk show trainings, 2 6-month empowerment training schools, 37 orphans sent to school for a year, 8 working missionaries who have planted 14 successful Gospel Outbound churches to date, and many additional non-Gospel Outbound church leaders and lay people trained in Christianity and in particularly missions. In 2016, our target increases include an increase to our economic empowerment, including the adding of a new program called Farming God's Way, which will help subsistence farmers increase their yields by 6 times. This program will require an additional $7,700 in 2016. We are currently serving 37 orphans with school fees and would like to increase that to 100 orphans, requiring an additional $4,800 this year. We also want to continue our successful radio talk show training, which will require an additional $15,500 in 2016. The needs are great, but God is able through His people. Gospel Outbound is connecting people to serve with compassion to empower the poor, both spiritually and economically. Thank you for listening to our presentation, but we also want to give you an opportunity to join with us in this great work. First, pray for the work of Gospel Outbound. Sign up for our newsletter on our website at www.gospeloutbound.com. This will keep you tuned in to our work and prayer needs. Secondly, consider a financial gift, or even better, a monthly gift, as most of our partners do, which helps the ministry considerably in planning programs moving forward, knowing that we can depend on that monthly support. You can sign up for this giving as well on our website on the Support tab. Again, thanks for listening, and may God bless you as you serve Him for His glory.